Listen, I've been critical of the UFC's light heavyweight division in the past. Hey, when we get into MMA, it was the best division. We get into it for the Shoguns, the Machitas, the late Chuck Liddell pit of his career, and the Rampage Jacksons. And at the time, it was awesome. Right now, a little stagnant. But we have two fighters that are making it exciting. We have Georgia's Roman Dolidze taking on Brazil's John Allan. No relation. The last name spelled differently than ours. But overall, this should be a great fight. Matt, we were so hyped about Roman Dolidze before he made his UFC debut. He was on an absolute tear, and then he had a lot of time off, a little bit of USADA complications, some fights that fell through, maybe some injuries, but Roman Dolidze definitely delivered in his debut, taking on former M1 global champ and UFC whipping boy, Hadis Ibrahimov. And overall, Roman Dolidze definitely delivered in that one. Finished poor Hadis Ibrahimov in the first round, wanted some more, now he gets it. And Brazil's John Allan, really weird case because he lost on Contender Series, had a fight outside of the UFC, got a win. They bring him into the UFC and he fights Slow Mike Rodriguez. And Matt, for what it's worth, Slow Mike's all right. I mean, he's in the UFC. I'll never be there, but he's not bad.
I'd say we're higher on him than most people, honestly.
I really think so. You know what? That's true. John Allan beat him.
He did.
Won by decision. That was overturned to a no contest. So that's the no contest that's on his record. But he has a UFC win. Now, it's not the same type of no contest as Jamahal Hill's no contest up at the top of the card. But overall, John Allan has a performance in the UFC that went well compared to his Dana White's Contender Series performance. He's a guy coming out of shoot the box in Brazil, Muay Thai artist, nice high stance. He's not known as a wrestler, which is kind of weird because if you watch this fight against Mike Rodriguez, he looked like a wrestler. John Allan's takedown defense, little bit shoddy. You worry about it a little bit. How's he going to be off his back? He definitely holds a lot of power in his hands. For Roman Dolidze, ADCC Oceania medalist, FILA World Grappling Champion. This guy hits like a Mack truck. And oh, by the way, this was in my notes, Matt. So he's a guy that's trained in Ukraine with pro kickboxer for a really long time. We know that he's a grappler, but his striking is good. And he's one of those grapplers that's really happy with his hands because he has a lot of power, but he can do a lot of things that grapplers don't. He keeps his hands a little low. He's got a decent chin. We've seen him crack, but he does have a decent chin. He's been training at Extreme Couture, and it's not like, well, he's been there for a week. He's been there for a little bit, training with Misha Serkinov, Nate Marquardt, the other name I have on here, Francis Ngannou, and Tyrone Spong.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good, and I wanted to throw that out there because Roman Dolidze is training with these absolute killers in the higher weight classes, and it's great for his career. For John Allan, again, shoot the box Diego Lima, not Lima brother Diego Lima, but shoot the box Diego Lima. You're definitely going to get the right kind of training. Stylistically, this makes for a great fight. Oh, yeah. Allan off the Rodriguez performance, Dolidze coming off the Ibrahimov finish. I love this fight. I'm so excited. I've taken 3 minutes of your time. Matt, what do you think about this fight?
I really am excited for this fight, and I do think the wrestling of John Allan's going to be a weird X factor in this. And I really only say that because we saw a lot of his wrestling offensively against Mike Rodriguez, but you kind of have to throw all that out in this fight. If John Allan goes for a takedown on Roman Dolidze, that would be the worst idea he could possibly have, just because the grappling difference between these two guys is quite extreme. And for Roman, you had said it. He does carry his hands very low, but it's sort of in like a Fedor Emelianenko pride way, where he does carry his hands low. They're kind of out a little bit, but he uses like weird lateral movement from side to side. So it does sort of work to his advantage, and I don't always see that as a negative. But again, something you have to bring up, especially against a technical guy like John Allan. If Roman Dolidze is just going out there, throwing the wild hooks, I do get a little bit concerned, and especially if Dolidze has confidence early, if he is able to hit John Allan early on in the fight, I'm a little worried that he could start to get wild with some of those overhand shots. And against a guy like Allan, who could just put one or two down the middle pretty quick, Roman could run into a big shot and it could put him down. That's my one big concern for him in this fight. If he is crashing forward in that reckless manner in which we know that he does do, John Allan could have an elbow waiting for him. We see Darren Till do that a lot. He did that against Robert Whittaker, where if he waits and waits and waits and waits and waits and you crash in, it's not that he's meeting you with a shot. He just forces you to run into one. I could see that being sort of a game plan for John Allan.
Couple of weird things. I mean, with Roman Dolidze, definitely didn't take on the best level of regional talent coming up through. But if you want to watch two really good fights, the last two, and again, 2 years, 5 months ago, he took on Eder de Souza, knocked him out, and that was great. The fight that he had against Mikhail Pasternak, no relation to David Pasternak, the Boston Bruins, about 2 years ago, was insane. You want to have fun? Go back and watch that with WWFC. He throws a low kick into a spinning back fist and knocks him out. It's absolutely insane, especially when you couple that with the fact that he's a primary grappler, but he doesn't really use it in MMA. I worry about that a little bit, especially in this fight. The other thing for John Allan, more so known as a striker with not great wrestling, or has throughout his career, he got outstruck in his last fight against Slow Mike, which is, what it is, and he out-wrestled Slow Mike. He landed 4-6 total takedowns. An absolute shocker to me. Now, was that game planning on John Allan's part? Well, most likely, I would think it was. I worry about that, though, in this fight. Again, if he's working takedowns against such an experienced grappler in Dolidze, that's a problem. If you're going to strike with him, so be it. Dolidze, I wouldn't say he's hittable, but you can definitely hit him.
So I agree with that assessment a little bit. I think Roman Dolidze is going to win this fight. I'll give my prediction a little early. But again, when we talk about these guys starting to fight some of the upper echelon guys in the division, and 205 is very shallow at this point, but you have to think Roman Dolidze eventually is going to have to fight. I'm going to say Anthony Smith is probably the worst of the elite at 205. Do you really like his chances against Anthony Smith right now? Not exactly. I do think he is going to have to make some little tweaks to his style, and he might need a loss for him to really do that. I don't see this being the fight that is going to set him down a different path where maybe he does decide, okay, going for a takedown a little bit more often wouldn't be the worst idea. Maybe we don't get into some of these brawls. I think he's a guy who is going to need to learn on the job a little bit more as he goes forward, and at 32 it's a little concerning, but I still do like him in this fight.
I do too, Matt. And I mean, if we have a look at the odds, Roman Dolidze opened a minus 200 favorite. He's now at a minus 170. For John Allan, opened up a plus 170. He's now at a plus 140. Over on Tapology, Matt, I would say a limited sample size. We're at 715 total votes now. 95% going Dolidze, 81% going with Dolidze by knockout. I think Dolidze is going to get the win. I think he's probably going to get the win by finish. I'm just sitting here scratching my head. Is he going to submit him or is he going to knock him out? I'd be more inclined to think submission, but that's just me.
It's a good problem to have when you can get it both ways. I think Dolidze, I'll just say they'll win. I won't put any cap on it saying he's going to get the finish, but I do really like him in this fight. And I'm excited to see him sort of fight some of those upper echelon guys as he moves forward.
Matt, really looking forward to this fight. We're both going with Georgia's Roman Dolidze to get the win. It's a really interesting card. There's a lot of fights that might be flying under the radar, but one that isn't, our main event between Jack Hermansson and Marvin Vettori. So you're going to want to keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt, as we always say.
Let's get into it.